All right, everybody. Good morning. It is 11 o'clock Pacific time, and we've got quite a few people here, which is great. I'll go ahead and start the meeting, and I've started recording. I'm going to pull up here the minutes from our last February meeting. Hopefully you all got those in the email that I sent this morning. Let me find it right here. And I will let you all look through it real quickly for the first couple of minutes here. And if we have any questions on it, we can address those. Alrighty, did we, as people are finishing up here, did we have anything that we needed to look back and review, or any questions about the minutes? Anne says, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Anne. All right, I don't hear any questions or concerns about the minutes. If somebody would like to motion for an approval. Do we have a motion? Anybody? Okay, looks like Anne motions. Would somebody like second?
This is Beth, I second.
And Marcia seconds. Awesome. If we have anybody that would not like to say aye, you get to speak now. Hearing nothing, looks like we approve the minutes. I guess that's not technically the way you're supposed to do that, but rather than have everybody, all 13 of you, type aye all at the same time. All right, so let's put those away. Here is the current agenda as it stands. I added a little reminder about parts at the end that we'll talk about in a second, but does anybody have, before we get started, anything that they believe should be added to the agenda? All right, let's go ahead and jump into our trainings on the agenda here. I've got the hyperlink for the web client presentation is in the one that I sent out. The series video for the series training, if any of you missed it, is now up on YouTube. It is up on the Sage Library System YouTube page, which is right here, actually. Sage Library System uploads. The cataloging training series is right here. I was actually just looking through that not too long ago. And then the web client session is up there too. Cataloging web client training session is right up here. And the next training that we're going to have, Beth, correct me if you're doing another web client prior to this, web client training prior to this, but we're going to have a training session. Heather and I are going to do a training session on how to look up authorities in the Library of Congress, LCSH authorities, well, not subject headings so much, but Library of Congress authorities as well as existing SAGE authorities. And this is because we thought it would be helpful as part of the ongoing series training. As you go through the series training that Anna was doing, it would have been helpful to do some training on how we get those series authorities. So we're going to put that together, and it'll be one of our Thursday trainings within the next few weeks. We'll get that scheduled and sent that out to all of you on the Sage Cat list. Go ahead, Beth.
And John, I just wanted to mention that you and Heather had put together a document, and that document is now up on the Sage Lib website under resources.
Oh, okay.
So folks can refer to that for some, it's called Locating Series Authorities in Sage and LOC.
Okay. So does everybody see that? I'm on the main Sage cataloging page right here under resources, locating series authorities in Sage and LOC. Here is what this document looks like. The first page is just establish series entries in Sage, and then the second two pages are looking up series information in Library of Congress. So that training will go through that document and look at some examples and help folks try to better understand what they're looking at when they navigate around the Library of Congress Authority site, because it is a little counterintuitive. At least I find it to be a little counterintuitive. Probably some of you are the same way. So that's that. Yeah, go ahead.
And I also wanted to add that I'm going to schedule a web client session for cataloging for next week.
Okay, so
another session for the web client focused on probably copy tags, copy notes, and some other things, but I think good to keep the familiarity with the web client going.
I agree. Training number 2. You said next week?
Yes.
Okay. All right. And then we covered that. And did you have anything you wanted to say specifically about the server update that is going on the 10th of April? So that's in 9 days at 8 a.m. Now you notice, folks, that this is a fairly minor update. This is 3.17 to 3.110. So there aren't going to be a whole lot of changes happening like there will be when eventually we go to 3.2. So Beth, did you say you anticipate this being down for an hour and a half, 2 hours? I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, that's what I was told, and I'll be sending a message out on the general listserv after this meeting there is a possibility that staff may need to use an updated version of the staff client. So I'm going to recommend that folks maybe the day before download 3.1.10 staff client, and I'll provide links for that. But I just want us to be ready in case we need that staff client, so we're not impacted time-wise.
And Heather Estrada had a comment. Heather, did you mean date and time for the web client training or date and time for the server update? The web client training. Okay, Beth, is that Thursday at 1 o'clock like the normal trainings are?
Yeah.
Okay, Thursday. If I could type correctly, goodness. Thursday, April 4th, then, at 11 a.m. Okay. So, down to new authorities now. Yeah, go ahead.
John, sorry, it's 1 p.m., not 11.
Oh, why did I say 11? Because our cataloging committee is at 11. So, therefore, all meetings are at 11 a.m. That's what that means. No. So, you've got a batch of new authorities coming in?
Yes, I sent out a new base file to LTI a week and a half ago. I got all of the files from LTI. So I started a couple days ago bringing our new authority records into the system, and started the process of updating bibs with the authority updates. So probably for the next week and a half, I'll be doing that work and recreating the links, the authority links within the catalog records to reflect the new authority records. So anyway, that action is happening in the background. At the same time, I'm also deleting duplicate authority records, and John is helping me with this too.
And, oops, I put Sage 4. Why did I put Sage 4? So these, moving on down here, the records that are being removed, those are libraries that aren't with us anymore, right? And is that happening now, or is that yet to have happened?
I did it before I sent the file to LTI. Mm-hmm. So the remaining Plaintree records that were in the system still, along with the Wallowa County records and the EOU records. Technically, EOU is still a part of SAGE, but their collection is on another ILS, or Integrated Library System. So I removed their records.
All right. And my apologies, folks. I'm just blowing through this agenda really quickly without giving people opportunities to ask questions on specific stuff. This is fairly standard stuff here, but did anybody have anything that they wanted to ask or comment on anything we've covered so far? The series training or web client training, anything like that? I didn't want to just keep going without allowing folks an opportunity if they had anything. Does anybody have any questions on those, or comments, complaints, revelations, visions? Any of those? None so far? Before I move on to parts. Okay. So let me pull up an example record of what I wanted to remind everybody about parts. And essentially, the issue that we have is when we inconsistently assign parts to a record, we kind of have problems with the hold system. So let me pull up, Well, I don't have that. So I'll just pull this up here. So here I have just an example. This is Deadwood, the third season of Deadwood. And as I scroll down here, we've got 3 libraries that have the complete set of season 3, and 2 libraries that don't have any parts. And so watch what happens. I'm going to go ahead and place hold here. And this is going to look a little bit different than the staff client. This is in the web client here. So you can see right here, I have select a part. I have all parts, and I have complete set. And now, at first glance, that seems like the same thing, doesn't it? But it isn't actually. If I go to select all parts, for example, and I'm just going to put this on my staff account real quickly, and I click submit. Okay, hold successfully placed. Now I'm going to go back to the record here, and I'm going to go view holds. There's my hold. It assigned me 7380. That's the number that it assigned me. So if we go back and look, 7380 is North Powder's copy. It did not assign me my copy here in Sumter. And that's because all parts, if you assign all parts, it's going to pull from the libraries that do not have parts assigned, not from the entire group, which it may seem like it's going to do. That's going to cause a big problem if we have records that have libraries that have assigned parts, and then say you go to assign your, or you go to add your item onto a record that has parts and you don't add a part. That means that all parts go directly to your library. Does that make sense to everybody? Let me go here to Deadwood first season here. So here's, I'm going to show more copies here. Let's see here. Okay. Now it looks like all of the libraries here all have assigned parts. I think, Perry, you just went and fixed this record, if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
So you see here that we have correct terminology, complete set, which let me pull that up. Circulation one item, use complete set, not all volumes, all discs, complete season. No, use complete set, which you can see right here. If you have broken up the item into various discs, like Milton Freewater, you can see has done here. I'm not sure if that should be volume 1 or disc 1. Disc 2, disc 3.
Normally it should be disk.
Okay. So the terminology isn't quite correct, but the functionality at this point will at least work, because if I go to place a hold, let's see what I get when I go place hold. Here are my options here. I'm going to either complete, I don't have all parts because everybody has assigned a part. So I get complete set, or if I want the specific disk, then that's where I would do that right there, and that would work fine. Conversely, if you are adding an item to a record that does not have any parts to it, none of the libraries have or has assigned a part to a record, and if you then assign a part, that then can cause a problem. Say, for example, I don't have one right with me, but let's go back to, let me get out of this. Let me go back to Deadwood here. Let's say, just for the sake of argument, that none of these parts were here. So if no library had assigned a part, and then I go and add an item, and I add a volume rather, an item, and then I add a part, what I would see when I went to place a hold as a patron is I would see the all parts, which would designate all of the other libraries, and then say I had a complete set and I put complete set. Everybody who clicked on complete set would then be directed right to my library. So all the holds would go right to my library. So do we see how this causes problems with holds? The important thing to remember is please look and see what parts have been assigned by other libraries on a record. And if there aren't any parts assigned, and you add a part and just go on your merry way, that's going to cause problems. And conversely, if everybody has a part assigned and you don't assign your part, that also causes problems. I'm not sure if everyone's aware or not. Let me pull up another example of, is it complete series? Yeah, let's look at the complete series, Deadwood complete series. Take a look at these parts. We have complete series, seasons 1, 2, and 3. We have season 1 for a lost copy, and then the replacement copy is here, season 1. Season 2, season 3, and season 1. So we've got some inconsistent terminology here. Now, thankfully, everybody has assigned their part, so we don't have that problem. But if we go over to view holds, monograph parts here, we can see all of the parts that have been created for this item. Now, it looks like this was created and then scrapped. But the examples that were given, we should be using Arabic numbers, right? We shouldn't be using spelled out numbers. I don't see any here. My RDA brain says as on the resource, as on the resource, as on the resource. However, if in this case, we're going to have 2 different radio buttons for season 1. So we would want to merge these here, merge. And we want the Arabic numeral. And let's do the same with season 2. And let's do the same with season 3. Okay, these I don't believe have any items assigned to them. Right. This is all of the. How many do we have? 5 of 6 copies and suggest 6. So those don't have. So we can get rid of those. Boom, boom. Now this complete series, seasons 1, 2, and 3. Let me ask y'all. What do you all think about that terminology? Perry says, take a look at Longmire 4th season. We'll take a look at that in just a second.
It's about the same time I figured out mine.
So would you all agree with me? You don't have to agree with me. I would prefer you to agree with me. You don't have to. Somebody's having phone issues, I think. Is that... Hello. Either that or somebody's in a big sandstorm or something. Lisa says, I'd like all the terminology to match. I think that's an awesome idea. Okay, so let's go.
So, John, are you suggesting for the Columbia Gorge part that we should say complete set?
That is what I am suggesting. I was hoping somebody else would beat me to it, and Beth, indeed you did. So complete series, seasons 1, 2, and 3 is the same terminology, is it not, as complete set, right? That's our accepted terminology.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, can I edit this directly, or would I then have to go here and go new monograph part?
I bet.
Yeah.
You might be able to double click on it and get it
Yeah?
edit.
Okay, let's see. There we go, just like that. So I'm going to go here, go complete set. Let's make sure that's complete set. Yes? I have too many windows open. Anybody else have that problem? I bet it's just me. Save. And we go back and look at it in the OPAC. Let's refresh here. I'm really looking forward to automatic refresh in the web client eventually when we get it. And now we have we have consistent terminology. And if I go here to place hold, I've got complete set season 1, season 2, season 3. So this is what we should see. Now let me really quickly look at Perry's suggestion of Longmire complete 4th season.
And I mentioned this one because this is a very popular item, and one library has added a part, which, it's questionable why a part designation was needed anyway, but it's the only one with a part. So if patrons select complete set on that, all holds are going to be targeted to their item.
Yes, good example of that. Let's go find.
So are we looking for Longmire or Deadwood?
Oh, sorry. Isn't Longmire and Deadwood the same thing? I'm just kidding. Don't worry.
Longmire. 4th.
Just teasing, folks. I mean, Westerns, aren't they all the same? Really, folks? No. This is a guy who catalogs nonfiction. Can you tell? 1st, 5th, 2nd, 6th, Longmire, the complete 4th season. Let's look and see what fun stuff we've got here. Okay, so here we've got no parts, and then we've got one library with complete set here. So if I were to go then place hold as a patron, I get all parts and complete set. And if I say, well, it's not kind of sound the same, but I better go with complete set to make sure I have the whole thing, then it would for sure assign me to Legrand's copy, right? Is that what I'm expecting here? Let's take a look and see. Legrand is 1393. Let's see what it gives me. Here I am, 1393. Yeah, see, there it is. So let me cancel that hold. Nothing against Longmire, but I'll go ahead and cancel my hold. And so we now need to go to parts, and we can safely delete this part, right? I'm not going to accidentally delete something more than just a part.
Yeah, I think it may be better to remove the parts designation before you delete the part.
Good
on
call.
That item.
I'm always hesitant when I start deleting something. But if I go down to Legrand here, okay. I don't think I have done this in the web client, so we might find out whether or not this works or not. So it
would have been fine for Legrand to do complete set if they would have put that parts designation on every other library's item. But them doing it on their own and none else is the problem.
Right, that is the issue. Because ostensibly the 4th season record is going to, by default, have everything in the 4th season, so it would be a complete set. The only oddity we might see is a library that is broken up by disks, which they would then not have the complete set. I didn't check to see if that was the case, but I'll take your word for it.
No, it's not the case.
That is
so
not
if
the
a
case.
library did have that season broken up, and they needed to create parts, they should not only assign their own individual parts, but then they would need to assign complete sets to everybody else's. So it's a little more complicated than just dealing with your own if that's not already taken care of.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So just looking at these call numbers, it looks like everybody is all dealing with the complete set here, and there is no more parts designation there. And if I go here, now I can safely take, well, I suppose I don't need to, because like you say, Perry, if a library adds items onto this record that are broken down by disks, then they would then need this complete set
True.
label for the other ones. So I don't necessarily, it's not doing anything sitting there. At least now it's not. And now if I go place hold, now I don't have to mess with any of the parts options there. Does anybody have any questions regarding that? We haven't really looked at any items other than television, but we would want this to be consistent practice, generally speaking, not just for television series, although the terminology is probably going to differ with other types of records, I would guess.
Hi, John. I kind of have a question, or maybe when we decide to add parts to a record with our item, and Perry was saying to go in and make sure that everybody then was assigned parts. I had this exact situation with Lori here a few weeks ago. I emailed her that I had added parts to the record and that I had not done anything to her book, because I didn't feel right going in and fixing all of her books. Or it was a movie or something, but whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
I think in that situation, Lisa, you could email the mentors. It could be that the person's out for a while, and
Yes.
John or I could add parts in that case.
Okay.
So we wouldn't mind stepping in the gap. I did a cleanup way back when we first introduced parts and went through all the DVDs and try to get parts assigned, but
Right.
I'm wondering if that needs to be a periodic cleanup. And
well,
I also
this one, this one was it was an older one, and the one that she had cataloged no longer had the DVD with it. It was only Blu-ray. Mine was the exact same record, but I had both Blu-ray and DVD. So I had put on there, contains both. I think I put complete set, and then I put the part for her was DVD only, maybe, or disc one. I can't remember exactly how I did it, but I did email her and let her know that I had. But yes, I think emailing, because when you run into a record with 10 other libraries, I'm not going to feel confident enough or powerful enough to go in and change everybody's books like that. If I was higher up, if I was a Cat 1, I would have no problem. But that hasn't been necessarily something, you know what I mean? Does that make sense? So yeah, emailing the mentor, that's a great, thank you. I will do that exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a great question. And if you need to know how to get in contact with them, their contact information is here.
Right. No, I can get into the sheet. I love the sheet. I use the sheet.
All right, so let's pull that.
Well, that was just my biggest question, because I just had that come up a few weeks ago, and I wanted to make sure. And then Perry said to go ahead and fix all the books or all the discs, and so I wanted to make sure that I had that kind of power. And I would rather email the mentors and let them all know what I did.
Well, and sometimes you're going to see records that one other library.
Right, and then I'll call them.
Today, you're going to see a record that has 15 other libraries on it. And that I would be that kind of hesitancy is certainly justifiable.
Well, if it's all right that we go through and do that as a Cat 2, If we assign parts to something and we need to fix all of the holdings just to make the patrons able to easily order things, I don't mind doing that. I like it all to look the same. I don't like empty spaces. And I want the patrons to be able to go right in. So, and then, you know, like you were saying, I love the cleanup that you just did now. When you see the different terminology being used, and we all want it to be one terminology, being able to go in and merge those together, again, is that something as a Cat 2 I'm going to be able to do? Because I do run into those things.
Is there anything in the system, Beth, that prevents Cat 2s from doing that? Or John? Beth or John?
That's a good question, John. I don't know for sure.
I feel okay doing it. I feel capable of doing it, but I also know that you guys have responsibilities divvied up for a reason. And so I don't want to interfere with that. But personally, I'm fine with taking on that responsibility.
Well, I would also caution, just make sure that when you are looking at the other library's records and or items and call numbers, there is the possibility that it might be unclear as to what part terminology they meant. So in that case, it might be, you know, in that case, it might be worthwhile to be on the safe side.
Right.
But
so just stop at any.
Go ahead.
Stop at any signs of red flags. Just stop and then turn it over. If it's beyond my abilities or I have too many questions about it, just turn it over.
Right.
I can do that.
Look before you leap type thing.
Yep. I love that. I like it that you don't delete really quick, too. Thank you for doing that.
Yes. Yeah. Sometimes, you know, when you're weeding your own collections, you're a little quicker to get rid of things than when you're dealing with the entire consortium, for example.
Yep.
Excellent point. Oh, thank you. How are we doing? Anybody else have any other comments or questions regarding adding parts, changing parts? I don't have really anything else on my agenda for today. And does anybody else have anything for the good of the cause, or should I just remind everybody else when our next meeting is? If you want to put it on your calendars, here it is. It's going to be on the 3rd of June at 11 a.m. Just a reminder, watch your email because in addition to Beth's training on the web client, that is the Thursday, right? Not the 4th, Beth?
Yeah, correct.
Okay.
Because the 4th would be this week.
Okay. Yeah.
And I wanted to give enough notice.
Right. Okay, so there's going to be that training, and then also sometime in April we will schedule our new authorities training, and it will probably be, I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be, on one of our Thursday at 1 o'clock trainings in the month of April. As to which week, we're not quite sure yet, but be on the lookout for that. And in the meantime, please make sure and check out the new authority document that's on the SAGE website now, the LOC authorities. Take a look through that. Hopefully, it's fairly self-explanatory. Let me pull it up real quick. Here it is again, which I got right here, locating series authorities in SAGE and LOC. Hopefully that'll be helpful, not just in series, but whenever you're looking up authority information from Library of Congress. So, and says, when is Beth sending out links for upgrade so I can forward to the tech department?
Probably. I can send them out today. I guess I'm just trying to think with the upgrade happening on the 10th, how much lead time you would need. But yeah, I should be able to send out a link today. And that'll give people plenty of time.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody. We've slated an hour for these meetings, but we're going to get out 20 minutes early today. And thanks for all you do. Appreciate your attendance today. And we will get minutes and the recording up on YouTube for everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day. Thanks, y'all.
Thanks, John.